Can you explain what the change triangle is and what each corner means and how it works together?
Absolutely. Can I backtrack? Because I just wanted to say 100% what you said about that sort of why we're all kind of paralyzed in a way to work with feelings because we do think that there's some emotions are happening in the head. And I just did for people listening out there, I wanted to even be specific that what you can learn and what is that when I feel fear, right? Or let's say I'm trying to let's say let me in a way it might be easier if I go back with my how I got over my problem feeling sadness is I was only experiencing anxiety, right? Which a lot of people have as a jitteriness in their body, or they'll have like a pit in their stomach, or their heart is racing, or they'll get sweaty or something like that. And once I learned, first of all, when I heard that emotions were physical the first time I went to this conference, I think we all, when we hear that, go, oh, that makes so much sense. Of course they are. It's just intuitive. And that was so relaxing as a concept. And then learning that, like, the sadness, as I was taught and I had read about in these academic books, would be a feeling that's like heavy in my chest. That was normal. A feeling that I wanted behind my eyes that I wanted to cry. That was normal. And that when I did cry, I would feel better. Oh, that made sense too. So with each of the core emotions on the change triangle, which we can now segue to, they're going to have a different program and they're going to affect the body in its own unique way that's commensurate with the physiology of the action that this emotion is supposed to prompt us to do. So the change triangle, which is a two-dimensional diagram of something that is a very dynamic, so the diagram itself we want to bring to life. And so as I try to explain it, if you envision an upside down triangle with the point of it in your body, let's say like between your belly button and your ribs. And then the triangle kind of comes up with the top of the triangle, the top flat part, let's say hovering above your shoulders, because when the core emotions are in the body, they're at the point of this upside down triangle. So we can visualize all these emotions that might get triggered that happen in the body, and the core emotions that are on the change triangle, and that are the common ones that get us into trouble when we bury them, are fear, sadness, anger, disgust, joy, excitement, and sexual excitement, right? And these are, again, everybody has all these emotions, and they're all normal, and they're all wired in. And at birth, these are ready to go so that we can communicate with our caregivers, mostly, obviously, as an infant, non-verbally. And most of communication, even between adults, is nonverbal, facial expressions. Right? These emotions are pulling our facial muscles, our body posture, and that's why we can all kind of, emotions are contagious and we can read each other's feelings. If you ask like a teenager, how are you? I'm fine. Well, we know you're not fine, but you can't say that. You have to be a little more clever. So if you picture an upside down triangle, with the core emotions in your body, what happens is when we adapt to our families and our peers and our community groups and our religions, right, we are slowly restricted in our emotional expression and bandwidth because we're told not to, don't be a sissy, or pick yourself up for your bootstraps. Don't be so happy. Don't be so proud of yourself. Don't be conceited. Put a smile on your face. All these things. And so as we disconnect from the core emotions, we move up the change triangle to the two corners on the top that are located, again, out of your body, because we kind of move out of our body towards our head. So the top right corner is this other category of normal emotions that we all have, whose job is to push down the core emotions that are trying to push up. And these squasher emotions, or inhibitory emotions, as I call them, as they are called in AEDP and in the change triangle, are, and you will all recognize them all listening, and you, of course, Tim, will know them: anxiety, guilt, and shame. And these emotions serve a purpose when we have small amounts. So in other words, we have to suppress emotions to get along with groups. Like if we got angry and then we just started punching everybody we were angry at, because these core emotions have physical impulses. So sometimes you may feel like punching your best friend in the nose if they, by accident, insult you. But we don't do that because we feel guilty. We learn that it's not okay to hit people. We learn, and so when we get queued up with either anxiety, guilt, or shame, that pushes that emotion down so that we aren't banished and excluded from groups, that we can all get along, because survival of humans is also completely reliant on us all working together and getting along. So we have this inherent tension between these core emotions, which you could say, what's best for me, and these inhibitory emotions that are pushing them down, saying, what's best for me to get along with everybody. First my mommy, then my mommy and daddy, and then my friends, and then again it goes out and out into society, in the workplace, right? We can't start crying and raging in our work, we'll get fired. So we learn how to manage that. The problem is that when no one helps us with emotions, and these core emotions are kind of just stirring around in the body, swirling around, being pushed down by these inhibitory emotions that are in excess, because we are being criticized for aspects of ourself, like the emotion itself is bad, or our sexuality is bad, or the color of our skin is bad. Things about ourselves we have to push down. When we have all these emotions going around in our body, it feels terrible. And then we move over to the top left-hand corner of the triangle, which are called defenses. And defenses are also fantastic. They are the brilliant and creative ways that and there's tons and tons of ways we do this, that we are able to spare ourselves feeling uncomfortable from emotions. So just to give examples of some of the defenses that we all use. On a light level, after a stressful day, I love playing solitaire on my phone. It's just grounding. That's the use of a defense sort of on purpose, right? I'm not feeling my body. I'm not feeling my stress. I'm just distracting myself, right? And that's fine. Defenses are great. We all need them and we all want to use them, but we want to use them flexibly and with awareness. What happens is that as we've experienced more wounding, more traumas, the defenses become more entrenched, and we see defenses like alcoholism. We see eating disorders. We see blaming and constant judgment, and like pathological narcissism, where you can't even take accountability for ever making a mistake because there's too much shame to grapple with underneath it. So we sort of block all the feelings. We ruminate and we stay in our head. We over-intellectualize. These are all the defenses that we use. And defenses are often the symptoms that people come into therapy with. I have chronic anxiety. I can't stop being anxious. I can't see people. I have social anxiety. Depression is a defense. Even though it's got a feeling about it, it's really when you're devoid of energy and you're squashing down lots of emotions that puts too much stress on the mind and body, and we can't make enough of the chemicals that we need to help us feel and function, like getting out of bed and going to work and showering, and things, and we start to be able, go inner and not be able to meet the demands of life. And life is very hard, full of suffering and full of challenges. And so those are the 3 points on the triangle. The last part of the triangle, I can pause for you, is that part underneath the triangle. You want me to?
Yeah, let's
It's a lot.
let's stick with those three right there because I think there's a lot to unpack there, and then we can get into the open-hearted section after that.
Yeah.
Um, what I love most about the change triangle, two big things. It brings literal visibility and tangibility to emotions and actually understanding something that can just commonly feel so blind for people. And what I find so fascinating with the change triangle as a whole is that it's just a complete recalibration of the way that we understand and experience emotions, especially when we start talking about things like anxiety and depression. And the way that I see it is that obviously, if somebody's depressed or if they're chronically anxious, they think that's okay, like this is the problem. This is what I need to deal with. This is what I need to resolve. And you just keep staying focused on that very one dimensional word and thing. When it comes to the change triangle, it's like, hey, depression, anxiety, this might be the manifestation, or this might be just the thing that is on the surface that is kind of tapping at you to be like, hey, we need to get underneath that. And what that is the core emotions.
Exactly, exactly. So it's like a revelation. And I experienced two clinical depressions in my 30s, and I went on Prozac because what else was I going to do? I didn't taught me to go easy on myself and to be less type A and heap on stress, but I still didn't know. I went on Prozac for 6 months, then like the psychiatrist said, and then I felt better, and it happened one more time. But then after I saw the change triangle, I could understand why I got depressed, the root of it, and then work on it and work on my fears and my anger and all the things that I needed to really pay attention to. And I've never had another depression since. I mean, it's such a life-changing tool, and I love the way you say it. You're absolutely right. It just changes it from kind of putting a Band-Aid on something, and medication is fine. There's no problem with it, and it's a lifesaver at times. But it always needs to be used in concert with understanding oneself through the lens of the change triangle. Whether it doesn't have to be AEDP therapy, it could be any therapist that understands the change triangle and knows how to usher somebody through a core emotion without the therapist getting anxious. Really, that you need a therapist that has the confidence in the ability to go deep into the emotions.